Welcome back to your coverage here at the European WCQ in Berlin. So, we're into our top 32 feature match. And in front of me, I have Christos and Aslan who are ready to go. But they've already done the high roll at their table when they were selected by the judges. And Tio has chosen to go first. That's right. So Tio is going to go first. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand you guys over to your wonderful commentary trio. We've got Tom, we've got Alberto, and we've got Nadia, who are going to take you through this top 32 feature match. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Ed, and welcome everyone to top 32 of the European Championship. Exciting weekend and lots of action still to play for. There is so much going on here, and I can't wait to get into the analysis. But hi guys, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, I'm enjoying it. It's always fun to get into the deeper rounds, see all of the best players from the weekend. I mean, we got a little treat because on Friday we already get to see some of the best players from the whole year, but now we're seeing the best decks from the weekend. Who's done the best? What do you reckon, Alberto?
Yeah, I mean, I was having a look at the top 64 matches before having a look around the venue, and the tension was, palpable, honestly, and it was unbelievable, especially because, we have a lot of players and a lot of big names. For example, I have my man Lorenzo Muselli, the current Italian national champion, still in top 32.
Still going.
I don't know if Vincenzo Rufino won, honestly. I have no idea because I saw him also in the top 64. There was also Joshua Schmidt, a lot of, big names on the screen. And maybe we'll have the chance to have them on screen as well. But, nevertheless, we have another name that you, Tom, have some experience with the player we have at the table, I guess, right?
Just before we head into our players in our match, we do want to quickly take a look at the next slide here, please. We're going to explain some of the deck breakdown for you this weekend as well, some of the representations from the various nations across Europe that have come forward to this tournament. So as you can see here, unexpectedly, I suppose somewhat, Fiendsmith Snake Eyes taking just about half of the top cut spot. Any real surprises there?
No, I mean, that's a good conversion rate. So it's gone up from, what was it, 24% to start. So I guess maybe some people who have kept better track of these things can go and check how decks normally do, meta decks, whether they, how they start versus how they finish. But that to me looks pretty good. From a quarter of the field to half of the top card seems
well, if you're wondering about the conversion rate, Tenpai specifically, I think almost always is an entry at around about 15% of the metagame. And then likewise, again, very similar to North American WCQ with about 14-15% conversion rate. So I expect that that'll be a plus or minus 1 for the amount of top cut spots that they've taken. But we also still saw a couple of strange choices there, a little bit unexpected. Nitro Beasts as well, still going strong.
Yeah. Ubel had quite a climb, I thought. I mean, what did it start at?
I think Ubel, second most spot represented, alongside Tenpai, maybe third, very close to one another. But yeah, as you saw, not as dominant as people would think, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting, honestly, a little bit of numbers, but maybe players decided to rely on the Fiendsmith Snake Eyes, which makes sense. But, I mean, outside of the deck, I mean, I think Ubel is very consistent and has a lot of different interactions and negations on the field and disruptions. So I guess, maybe we'll get the chance to see it once again in action. But, I mean, I guess for this future match, it's like, speaking of weird or different decks, we have two different decks. Tom, you want to go through them?
Yeah, I mean, they're decks firmly from the other category. So on the one hand, we have another Runick Stun, which we saw yesterday. And is that your favorite idea, Runick Stun?
Can't wait to see this in action versus Christos Maurikas, who is somewhat of a name in the circuit, especially among the Greek duelists, running Rescue Ace. And I think they are just about ready to start this round. So without further ado, let's head on over to the table as our duelists are really excited to get this top 32 match underway. Here we are, game number 1, top 32. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a great weekend. Teo actually did win the coin... I keep calling it coin flip. Sorry, too much math to do. Did, in fact, win the dice roll here. And there is a Mono Iwato normal summoned into Pot of Duality. No Ash Blossom here. Is revealing 2 Runicks and a Terraforming. Was that Terraforming we took there?
Yeah,
it seems so weird using terraforming to search for Runick Fountain. He's like, doesn't he know?
Does he know?
Doesn't he know that you can just search him with any Runick spell? But I guess it's very important to get to it, and it's ideal to get to it without having to use any monster effects that can be interrupted.
Yeah, it's pretty decent to hard draw, just because it means that you don't need to necessarily deal with any potential hand traps from your opponent, which is, you know, as we've seen, just so popular this format. Obviously, we've drawn an Amano Awato, so it's irrelevant, but yeah, getting the fountain is extremely important. Just 2 set cards and a bounce here. All right, over to Christos.
Very fast hand movements from Teo there. He's shuffling his cards. Do you think that's nervous? I mean, there are some players who just do it all the time anyway. They're just like constantly shuffling their hand. And
No, it's specifically because I would assume a deck like Runick goes into time very often. I mean, Christos as well. I playing against Joshua Schmidt in top 64. Unfortunately, knocking a fan favorite out, but they did go into time, and that's generally where Runick tends to spend most of its event. So, you know, even from the very start of the match, you've got to start playing quickly, right? Because sometimes players speed up as the game goes on naturally, but you do need to try and remember that, you know, it's a long duel, 3 games to play potentially, and sometimes people need to keep that in mind, right?
yeah, I mean, it's a classic thing people do, isn't it? When you've got 40 minutes left, it's all the time in the world. You can take your time and go slow, but the time at 40 minutes, you know, it's the same time as 5 minutes. So if you can get through earlier, you're doing a good job.
Oh, Ghost Ogre on the Runick Fountain. Do we have a way to summon Hugin here? We do not. How unfortunate. Okay. Resolution we got goes in match, though. That's actually really strong in this specific scenario. Normally, goes in match doesn't do anything against this deck, right?
Wow, I think if you saw his other face down card, there's a bit of a,
What's that?
a floodgate combo.
Oh, what else is it?
I think it was a there can be only one as well. So not as fun as Rivalry plus there can be only one, but still a pretty good combination of cards. But having said that, where's the engine coming from?
Ooh, and he drew part of this eye.
Yeah,
that's where the
is.
engine's
Okay.
coming from. I love Christos, like, oh, he doesn't actually get to banish anything, does he? I was going to say, like, against Runick stun, do you even, like, bother?
I mean, getting rid of the Hugins is quite significant, I think, right?
Yeah, I suppose if you could knock your opponent down, if it's plausible, they might use a couple in a game.
It's a Smiting Storm and a Synchro Zone.
Well, there we go. Like, that Synchro Zone is super relevant, right?
Yeah, I know you can't attack with non-synchros. You can't activate effects either, or
No,
is it
it's just
the
the attack.
Just attacks,
Yeah.
okay.
It's got a
not
lot
that
of
powerful.
text on it, Synchro Zone, but it's, you know, for players at home, it's very reminiscent of Gravity Bind or Messenger of Peace. It's kind of an updated version of that. It's just that first line that says monsters which aren't synchros can't attack, and that's pretty helpful here, to be honest. Like, that's just kind of it, you know. Like, your opponent can't summon any more monsters. Christos is just going to be stuck with this.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right?
Unicorn.
Normally, the weakness of you know, these stun decks is that they can stop you from playing, but sometimes just sticking a big monster on the field and just poking every turn, that's actually a bit of a problem occasionally. But you know, Synchro Zone is able to stop that. Ooh, double unicorn. Okay, we are just playing Cash Tier, it looks like.
Is there a Warrior of a Draco Sack? I don't think it's in his extra deck. Maybe the battle phase has already gone into.
The Synchro Zone being
Draco
activated.
Sack.
I don't know. It's just something I think of when you see 2 level 7s, right?
Unfortunately, doesn't play it.
There's no universe where you play Draco Sack in this Snake Eye Rescue Ace extra deck, but yeah, that is that could theoretically have been an option. However, we also still have. That's a wow! Look at that.
Wow.
That's
It's almost a bingo.
it's like a mantelpiece, you know.
How
It's
do
like
you
a
deal with
trophy.
this? That's the point. How do you, like...
I mean, in theory, you could just scoop and go to the next game, because unless you have main deck outs, it feels like you're just kind of slow bleeding, right? There's just no... I can't think of in-engine outs to this situation.
But I don't think he has, because basically looking at his main deck, it's like... I mean, in the side deck, he has some options, but, you know, it's... I don't know. I think playing like this is risky, to be fair.
Hey, just deck your opponent out. You know, you've already ogred the one Runick Fountain. Maybe the other one got banished.
That is true. Pot of Desires can sometimes be a bit of a double-edged sword. Runick Fountain semi-limited as well. So there's no third one available.
I mean, I suppose you can always pick one.
Love the way he's just like flicking his card.
He's very well practiced.
He's just like fidget spinning. You got to think of some things to do when you're playing Runick, right? Looks like we've just got a set monster here, and passing on over to Teo, who is, yeah, basically just trying to find the Runick portion of his deck now.
This is like a build your own Mystic Mine, isn't it?
It really is, right? You know,
It's like you can't attack and you can't summon any monsters. I suppose you need to stop your opponent from using monster
in order
effects.
to mimic a fraction of the power of Mystic Mine, we have to combine 3 continuous trap cards to get just 1 Mystic Mine.
Well, the good thing about not having a Mystic Mine is that you can leave your field zone open for a Runick Fountain.
And he drew a Runick
True,
tip,
true.
but let's see if he has something to activate. Yeah, he does.
Spiting Storm. Does Amano Awato affect both players?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
You know another sneaky card that Christos has got? I mean, it's not that sneaky. It's face up on the field, but Kashtira Birth. It's definitely something you have to worry about because it can banish your Runick spells from the graveyard.
That is actually super true. Yeah, very relevant. Birth just has the secret effect, as I like to call it. Everyone knows that it reborns. Everyone knows that you get an extra, not extra, but a tributeless summon. But when you activate a spell card, and there it is, 3 Runicks being banished face down from the Birth, and that's going to be available almost every turn.
Yeah, it's going to make a serious difference to how much Aslan can grind. So, yeah, I'm interested to see if it can be enough for Christos to win the game.
The thing is that Theo has very few cards left in the deck as well because of the Pot of Desires. So it's I don't know, honestly. It's like, because
A race to deck out, you think?
no, I don't think exactly. That's what I was thinking, because Christos honestly doesn't seem as if, you know, can come back into this. It's like,
I mean, how many times are you going to get to resolve that Birth before a Runick Destruction gets picked up?
exactly.
Does he play Golden Droplet? I know that's almost always like a win condition of Runick, is to just deck your opponent out, and Golden Droplet sometimes contributes to that. No? Yeah, you don't have enough space for that. It's not a continuous trap card.
There is one.
Oh, there's
Golden
one.
Droplet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's usually how you race towards getting your opponent decked out. I think it banishes 5 and makes them draw 1, so you just like delete 6 cards from the deck. It's pretty strong. Also got 2 set cards here from Christos. I wonder if we're gonna play a little bit of some flip effects here. Very unlikely, but I just don't know what you do in this situation. I'm really curious, like genuinely thinking about it. Like long term, what is the game plan? Just relying on Birth maybe to like cancel out the Runick Fountain draws and Teo decks out first?
You just wait.
Yeah. Oh, do we play 3 Unicorn, do you think? There is a target here for Wraiths Off.
Let's see.
It's a Fenrir, all right.
Is it even worth searching Fenrir? Like, just leave it in your deck to try not to deck out? I don't know.
Yeah,
Can you tribute set under there can be only one and goes in?
Yeah, of course.
So maybe you could tribute set Fenrir, flip it up.
And
Anytime a monster effect's activated, it banishes a face up, I guess.
step 1, you know, tribute summon Fenrir. Step 2,
Half of the.
step 3.
Wait, that was a tribute set.
It was
Yeah.
a tribute set.
Oh, wait, is this part of the bingo?
That's not part of the bingo.
A tribute summon slash
Yeah.
set
Nah,
is.
it did not. This does not say slash set.
Okay, okay.
I'm the bingo police.
Is that a flashing fire we've got here? Yeah, indeed it is. We are going to destroy the Unicorn and then banish 2 cards off the top of the deck here.
So here we play a game of turn player priority. So when it's Christos' turn, if he has a trigger effect he wants to use, it has to go as Chainlink 1, and then the Runick Fountain goes Chainlink 2. So there's not really any point in using the Kashtira Birth. Not that you can even use the Kashtira Birth, to be honest. You don't have any Kashtira monsters.
I was going to say,
so I'm just
yeah.
talking complete nonsense. But it is an important, I mean, it's kind of an interaction that's from a year ago now, so it's not super important, but it was, back in the day, quite relevant.
So what's the
Runicks.
deal with this thing? Because I've seen a lot of Runicks done playing a new sort of upgrade of Card Trader. This is Card Scanner. You can declare a card type, monster, spell, or trap, and then both players reveal the bottom card of their decks. And if it was the declared type, they both add it to their hand. Otherwise, they place it on top of their deck. That's like the main effect, I suppose. The second portion is if this is face up, spell and trap is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can make an opponent place 1 card from their hand on the bottom. So essentially, it's a faster way to deck your opponent out, while also, as Fountain is utilized, it puts Runicks to the bottom of the deck. Normally when people put cards to the bottom of the deck, they don't care about the order, like with Prosperity. But in this specific case, you can just, you know, put back tip and then add it back, so...
Yeah, I think that's the idea. You just keep putting the tip on the bottom of the deck, and then you just draw it again every turn, which is absolutely crazy, because tip is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, searching any Runick spell is powerful. So, do you think we're maybe a little bit like tied up on our spell and trap zones? We have 1 zone for Runicks. the other zones unable to be utilized. I don't think we need anything else. You know, it would be nice to have space for a judgment, but it's not necessary, right?
I mean, Christos is going to need to clear some of them before he starts doing anything anyway.
Yeah.
The thing is, what's Christos' plan? That's the point.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the plan? Like,
genuinely.
Especially because like he's an experienced player, right? Like,
yeah.
You don't really want to get into time with with stun, like with Runick stun. Like,
yeah, especially when you consider the fact that, you know, if worst case scenario, if he loses this, maybe best case scenario going first game 2, he wins that. Going second in game 3, I mean, there's a Munin that is very much a win condition for Runick. So you want to get the loss out of the way quickly, and I feel like this is a losing battle here, but, you know, it's never over. Till the last card is played, I suppose.
I mean, it's by no means guaranteed, so the timeout rules are slightly different in the top cut as opposed to the...
It's a very good point. You want to tell us a little bit about how it works?
I should have said that, not that, because I know they're different.
I know they're different.
If it goes to time, obviously, like in between games, or if time is called, let's say a time was called at the end of the, or during the second game, and it caused it to go to 1-1, then it is not just a draw, obviously, because we can't have a draw in the top, in the knockout. So instead, I think the first player is determined randomly rather than
and you don't side deck
choosing.
either.
And yeah, so it's not just as cut and dry as they go first and get to go Moon. I think you also get 4 turns rather than just ending the phase. So
yeah, you might be right.
Don't quote me on that though. People at home.
Clarification from judges, if you can let us know, please. We'll clarify that for you, of course. But yeah, we'll get there when we get there, because right now Theo is playing a very high-level type of chess right now, as we put together the other types of pieces of Exodia to try and bring this game to a close soon.
He's only got like 4 cards left, but I guess at the end of the day, you can just banish cards at a sort of rapid rate from Christos.
Yeah, I think Christos' deck is looking mighty thin here as well.
This is Runick combo. It just takes a while to come online.
Yeah.
You do
He's
the
got
combo,
actually quite a few here. 5, 6, 7,
around
maybe like 15-ish.
15.
Yeah. We were having a look at his deck before, actually. I think he has at least 46 cards in his deck to begin with, so...
What do you think of time-rending Morganite? We haven't seen any of the Runick decks play that.
Maybe they're worried about decking out themselves.
Yeah, you know, it's suffering from success, right? You draw 2 every turn. Might be a risk of decking yourself out before your opponent. We did see in the previous feature match, of course, which you can check out on the YouTube channel on Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards EU for all of the action that has already occurred this weekend. We saw a double deck out in a Runick Mirror, and both players going down to like single-digit deck counts near the end of it. So yeah, that is something to pay attention to.
Christos once again peeking into his extra deck. I'm not 100% sure what's going to come out of it. It's got to be a wind monster. Let's have a little look and see if he's got any wind monsters in his extra deck. Most of them seem to be fire. All light. Ah, Appaloosa. There you go. You could make an Appaloosa somehow if you can get 4 other wind monsters.
Well, I can think of 3 unicorn. I don't know what the 4th one is.
Well,
no, you can't even use the same name.
Yeah,
so I don't know if we have the winds to be able to facilitate that. Is that another tribute set?
It is another
Can I trade 2 tribute sets for tribute summon on the bingo sheet?
No.
Okay.
No, this is not allowed.
Right.
I've got your bingo sheet.
You're being very unreasonable right now.
I am being very unreasonable. I think Leo had bingo anyway, like yesterday.
Yeah, well, so he claims. I'm dubious. All right, so Runick Tip, getting more cards here. It's a Runick Destruction. That's going to banish, I believe Destruction is 4 off the top.
Destruction is indeed 4. And then the droplets, that gets rid of another 5 cards from Christos' deck with 1 draw. So I have a feeling that he will be okay not to be decked out. Is there a target recall by the graveyard? Oh, no more Amato after this.
All right, so Amano Wato's going to stick on the field, I suppose, for 1 more turn, since it'll be negated. There goes Fenrir, and the Nibiru also great card in this matchup, I feel, right?
On Nibiru?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the superior rock monster. We've seen quite a few rock monsters, to be fair. We've seen the Rock of the Vanquisher, the Amano Awato.
Seen Block Dragon, once upon a time.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, just 6+ cards in Theo's hand here. Card scanner, gonna get that tip from the bottom. Search again with the tip. just multiple deck thinning going on here. There's a slumber as well.
It's another 3.
This is an upfield battle, but we said it's like, I don't know, at the beginning maybe. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I genuinely, in this position, I don't know what
is going on. Yeah, I mean, like, you could save time, I guess, right? It's just, you know, almost 15 minutes have passed, and you're going.
I'm trying to think of the benefit of trying to play out this type of situation. I'm not really sure because, you know, like we mentioned, if you go second in game 3, it would have to specifically be the top cut time rules. Maybe that can work in your advantage, but I don't know. Win the war, not the battle, I suppose. As, we could be in for a long one here. I think that's a singular card left on top of the deck here for Christos.
Yeah, and I think there's more than one for Teo. So I think he's kind of job done, so long as Christos doesn't pull a rabbit out of the hat on his very last turn of the duel. Rescue 8's HQ is gone as well, so you can't do any sneaky recycling of Rescue Ace cards back into your deck.
Yeah, HQ is really good because it also recycles your cards in banishment, so that's a huge advantage as well. Okay, now we pick up our cards and scoop up game 1. So yeah, that's probably as well as you expect it to go once Amano hits the field with the 3 mantelpiece continuous trap cards of Gozen, Synchro Zone, and what was the other one? There can be only one.
There can be only one. Yeah.
So sometimes a bit of a frustrating strategy to play against, but you know, it's a different type of Yu-Gi-Oh! You play in these type of duels, isn't it? You know, you gotta like think about, you gotta play to your outs rather than trying to do like these standardized combos and you know, the typical end fields that you would see that these decks can make don't sometimes interact with a Runick deck, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a different type. Again, it's completely different. It's a different type of combo almost, because like most players, they do their own combo. And to be fair, it can still take about the same amount of time, just a lot less turns. You know, they often just put up this massive field. And instead, you don't put up a massive field, just stop your opponent from doing anything. And then gradually like grind them out over the course of a 15-minute duel, rather than taking 15 minutes to do your combo and then just winning on the next turn.
Yeah, good point. Do we have anything that Christos might want to bring in for this matchup? There's 1 Cosmic Cyclone.
I'm seeing quite a lot, actually. There's the Harpy's Feather Duster, 3 copies of Evenly Matched, so...
Yeah, these probably not worth bringing in going first, right?
Possibly not the Evenly Matched, but definitely the Harpy's Feather Duster.
Yeah, just the
you
Duster
bring
and
in
Cosmic.
the Cyclone and the Duster for sure, and I mean...
But then again, Duster not so good against Runick because of the Hugin protection potentially, right?
Yeah.
So it's not yeah, again, like that's the thing, right? When you come to a tournament of this size, this caliber, this quality of player, you expect to face a lot of the best deck. And as you saw from the Top Cut breakdown, which you can check out on the social media, of course, on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card EU Twitter, for example, 49% of Top Cut is in fact a Snake Eye. So, you know, there's a reason why people are side decking and even main decking so many cards specifically for that matchup. And that's where decks like this come in, you know, to really take advantage of the fact that people are, you know, not building their decks for them.
But I think also we talked about this before yesterday, playing a deck such as Runick in this sort of like a moment in the top card. I think like if you face a deck like this, honestly, you're very scared. It's like that deck that you don't really want to face, you know, because like you can lose to it, and if you advance into the top 16, honestly, I think it will give it a hard time to our duelists. So yeah, here now Christos is really on the shoulders on the back on the wall, and is it's not going to be easy in my opinion, especially because like he has very few cards to deal with all the resources of Theo, which I think is also very confident, right, from the way he played.
Is there much of an end field that Snake Eye could put up specifically for this matchup, right? I mean, normally you think of like Apollosa, Desiree sometimes, but you know, in a Rescue Ace variant, I'm not sure if you're going to be well, actually he does play the Fiendsmith engine, so maybe you still have that, right? But Apollosa, for as an example, not going to be very relevant at all, right?
I'm trying to think, like, none of the Rescue Ace cards actually interact with spells and traps, do they?
Yeah.
They just negate monster effects or destroy. Do they destroy? Is there one that destroys? It destroys a card, right? Not a monster. So.
Contain?
Yeah, this
Extinguish?
And extinguish. Neither of them.
I think it's monster.
Yeah, nothing can deal with spells and traps. So that's probably why Christos has felt the need to put them in his side deck.
Question: if like Christos, he knows that you know, his chances to win are very low, right? If he goes second and just prays. Because you only have 2 cards, right? You have the Cyclone and the Duster. It's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I think like maybe just trying to get all of your resources out of your deck and make a field and potentially leave HQ up as well, which is really important, is worth it. My only like fear is that I think Runick's done definitely sides evenly matched going second.
Yeah, it does.
So that is a big risk, and we'll see what type of risk he's taking here, because looks like our players are ready for game number 2 here. Let's head on over to the table and see if Rescue Ace can bring it back against Runick.
Here we go. Christos hopefully going to have a slightly more interesting first turn than Theo did last time. But, I mean, it depends what kind of play you enjoy.
Guys, Christos.
Oh, he
he
did
did
just
go
go
second.
second.
Yeah.
Okay. And as you can see here, it's, I mean, kind of working out. It looks like Theo has a evenly matched in his hand, so that's going to be completely useless in this matchup, since we're most likely going to be setting up all of our continuous trap cards as quickly as possible. So
Well, it's interesting. He drew the evenly matched, and he played one day apiece. So could you almost just say, like, back to you? You know, you said I could go
that
first,
is
but
actually
like,
true, yeah.
why not just let your opponent go first?
It's it is a bold move, but it looks like he's committing to the play to the field here. So yeah, 2 options. You could one day of peace and then just pass, because you're going to survive. One day of peace makes it so that neither player takes any damage, and then Christos commits to the field. You activate evenly match and then use your Runicks. But there has to be something said about just the safety that is offered to you with being able to draw more cards with Fountain and set up that synchro zone in our hand, and potentially try and draw into something like Goes in Rivalry, or There Can Be Only One.
I mean, how much do you, like, need... Do you expect the evenly matched not to resolve? Like, if you're... I mean, maybe Christos wouldn't have an answer to it, so
Just
maybe it was
specifically Desiree is the only way to negate it, right?
Yeah. I don't know, it's interesting to think about. One day of pieces again. Like, the Runick deck makes you think a lot more about just passing than every other deck in the game, because they don't have a battle phase, and there's the one day of peace. You know, it's a much more viable thing to do. This evenly matched is kind of like meh
Yeah,
for an evenly match, isn't it?
Not great, because as long as we have Runicks, and we have plenty of them in our hands here, as long as Fountain stays up, that's what matters.
Yeah, just kind of cleared the synchro zone. And a little bit the Hugin. It's not super important, though.
Well, we should be able to perform a type of combo here, as we have Wanted for a Diabell Star versus just a singular Fountain. Are enough Runicks going to be able to stop this?
Well, I guess we'll see. Fountain can always draw you into more Runicks.
Passed.
Oh, wow. Wanted pass?
But Christos
Okay.
really not putting that much stock in, you know, trying to set up an imposing field, instead just choosing to try and deal
passes
damage.
back.
Wow, yeah, he drew into another evenly matched and just set it and passed.
Okay. Do you think we're waiting for, like, maybe one of the Cyclones or the Duster and then try and push? Or there has to be a reason that we're doing this almost chess-like back and forth here, because Christos clearly has combo and has ways to play, but he's holding off for a reason or another.
I mean, I guess maybe he just doesn't need to, like, maybe he doesn't think he's going to set up meaningful interruptions against the Runick deck, so
Yeah.
in that case, if you can't do any damage, why do anything at all?
I mean, I can half understand the battle phase being essentially skipped because of the evenly match, but then when it comes back to the next turn, maybe it's worth trying to go for game, especially since you're just giving your opponent more chances to draw ways to stop you from playing.
Yeah, so he had to skip his battle phase for kind of 2 reasons, I guess, one being the evenly matched and the other one being the one day apiece. So now he has the chance to start playing again.
I think he has all destruction and flashing fires.
What just happened?
We passed, drew, set, and then passed back into evenly too. Okay, maybe that is the plan. He's trying to get as much value out of the evenlies as possible. And then do we play in main phase 2, or is it worth just playing on the following turn when we have our battle phase?
It's too much passing going on. I'm trying to figure out what's...
He does just pass. Wow, okay. There's
Here we
4
go.
Runicks in hand. Christos trying. Is this the turn we play?
Nah, I think he's just too patient. He's just trying to keep everyone at home on their toes. Maybe he's just going to deck out the Runick player. You know? If you never play any cards, I think it's harder for them to activate Runick cards.
They're just missing like a cup of tea, aren't they? Okay, something is being committed to here. Yes, there it is.
You're here for action.
The best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's Fenrir. Do we just go straight to the battle phase? No. Deal with Fountain, play next turn, or do we just keep... Okay, yeah, well, there you go. You got to get rid of Fenrir, you know, can't let your opponent have that around for too long. Especially with a deck that has multiple face-up cards. Fenrir going to get a decent amount of value every single time it attacks.
And the third Evil is gone now, so not
yeah,
Evil remaining. Yeah.
Good point.
Going through all the spell and trap removal. There's the Ogre, but no...
Yeah, that's to be expected. Ghost Ogre in response to the Fountain. Special summoning in the chain to bring out Hugin. Then on resolution of the chain with Ghost Ogre, you can activate, well, not activate, you can choose to resolve the Hugin to banish itself and protect all of your cards from being destroyed.
Yeah, one of those quite unorthodox monster effects that doesn't start a chain even though it causes the Hugin to leave the field. And here we go. This is what Christos has been waiting for.
Wow.
A clean field, no Fountain, absolutely no defense.
Honestly, respectable to hold off for this long, waiting until the Hugin has been used from the destruction protection, then bringing down the Feather Duster to get rid of the Fountain. Now we can play completely uninhibited here.
Yeah, and this is not, I don't think, a turn where an evenly match has been played. So waiting for the perfect moment to strike from Christos. Got to respect it. And surely you've got to think that 8,000 damage will be incoming momentarily.
And I think we might see Christos closing this one in this game, in this turn, right? Because, you know, I think he's ready to push.
Yeah, this is potentially the game-winning moment here for Christos. We just need to put up damage, essentially, because, well, if you paid attention to Tio's hand, you definitely don't want to end on a big field after not committing to 8,000.
That's almost 8,000.
Just about.
It's
not
exactly
too long left.
You need to do all that 8,000.
All right, do we go for Snake Eye cards here? Should we go for Rescue Ace Hydrants? Or in fact, gonna go for the Hydrant. Yeah, there it is. So,
Hydrant can just search Turbulence here, right? And then that's millions of damage.
Shouldn't be too big of a problem, actually. No, there it is. There's Turbulence.
Who needs the effect of Turbulence, you know? You just...
Pretty rough matchup, I think, overall, don't you think, for Rescue Ace? Just because of the advantage of all of those, you know, searchable disruptions from the set 4 of Turbulence. Not really offering much interaction in this type of duel, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, Christos showing a really unique way to play it, just saying, you know, I know that, so I'm just going to wait to commit.
And there it is, scoop it up, and the end of game number 2. Christos takes this down with a very, very patient approach there. I mean, listen, if you're taking a lesson or anything to beat things like, you know, stun deck specifically, sometimes it isn't just about going all in and doing your combo. That is a perfect showcase and example of how sometimes patience actually does pay off.
Yeah, it just goes to show, like, the Runick deck, I mean, it's cool, it's a lot of fun. There's other decks maybe like Labyrinth, which is similar style. You try and stop your opponent from playing, but if you stop them for only maybe a turn or two, you have these big monsters you attack, you just end the game. You don't give your opponent all this time to draw that evenly match, just leisurely draw a card from their deck every turn until they're ready to win the game. Instead, you just end the game, and that's that.
Exactly.
And I think also Christos' experience here made the difference, because, like, he decided to go second, which, you know, I think was the right choice given his side deck, and he just basically waited for the right moment, and then when it was about it, he just pushed and won game 2. I think it was very impressive, to be fair. It's like, I think he's been playing this game for what, more than 15 years, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, how many players do you think would have had the patience and the courage to execute the strategy like that, going second against a very scary deck that can put up a ton of floodgates on their first turn?
It's like almost like an old school approach to, you know, effect damage that was used in like chain burn and things like that, right? Where you used to play very differently against those kind of decks, you know, 5-10 years ago. compared to just a regular sort of standard Yu-Gi-Oh deck, right? Like the approach is different. You don't commit as many monsters. You don't spread your field out as far for things like Just Desserts. And it's a different approach. It's a different skill set you have in the game when you take upon this type of matchup, right?
Yeah, exactly. It is fun to be able to play against different types of strategies. I mean, sometimes being shut down from doing what you normally do means you have to be creative and figure out other ways to win the game. Can you get the max value out of all of your effects? Can you do strange things like tribute set Fenrir's? I'm not really sure what Christos was trying to achieve, but maybe he had a plan with it.
Yeah, game one, not too sure about that. I'm sure there was a reason for it. There was one like little cool interaction, I guess, that could have worked, right? So remember when he called by the Amano? So it stays on the field, you wait a turn, I think it activates the return to the hand, and then Fenrir can then use its effect.
Aha.
So maybe he was trying to get himself into a situation where that exact niche situation was occurring. Perhaps that was the game plan. But a whole new game plan for duel number 3 here, because Christos very likely will be going second. And I think our players are just about ready. I think we're good to head on over to the table and see how the conclusion of this top 32 for the European Championship 2024 will unfold.
I looked a little confused whose deck was whose for a second there. I mean, I'm sure they know. I don't know if you ever played someone in the same sleeve and like shuffled and then given them and they give it you and you look for a second and you think, wait, which one's mine?
Playing same sleeves, you know, sometimes when you're swapping decks and stuff. Ever put your opponent's deck in your own deck space?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Shoutouts to you, Jesse Cotton. All right, that's a spooky Dogwood in the hand, by the way. This early on, 14 minutes left on the clock. I mean, I guess it's game 3, might as well. It do probably expect it to last a while, so there's a 1 day of peace.
Pass, I think.
Yeah.
What? This is quite interesting, actually. So this is almost like a counterpoint to Christos' strategy, right? Because Christos' strategy was, I'm going to wait, I'm going to take my moment, I'm going to destroy all your spells and traps, and then I'm going to go in and end the game on 1 turn. But if you do that, and then your opponent has a spooky Dogwood, how are you going to end the game on 1 turn? It's almost impossible.
Yeah, it's a good point, especially when you're in that situation of taking so long to wait until you have the wave to clear the field. You start playing, then Dogwood comes down. So it's almost as if you're back to square one in that situation, aren't you?
Yeah, and if your opponent can re-establish a few more floodgates after that, yeah, you're just right back to where you started with. That is exactly correct. Interesting, like, he's not flipped the skill drain. Is there, like, a reason?
I think he wants him to commit a little bit into this Dogwood. And then when something actually threatening is summoned, then the skill drain can be flipped, right? Because he does want him to commit a lot with things like Smiting Storm. Probably wants to try get ahead in life points as well because of the, well, I mean, it's going to be a long game. So I think I actually do quite like the skill drain not being flipped yet.
So he can't take any damage this turn, or at least he can't take any
exactly.
damage.
Yeah, 1 day apiece, so
I think Dogwood would just prompt Christos to pass, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. It's so weird. Like, it's just a completely different game of Yu-Gi-Oh, isn't it?
It's funny he didn't use Dogwood in on the Sinful Spoils because it's just not going to gain anything. He could just pass there. So still holding that Dogwood for most likely a summon of a larger monster to get some real value out of that. Because long term, Tio will go lower in life because at some point that skill drain is going to have to be flipped up. So that deficit will have to be made up somewhere. And Munin is usually how you do that, but not with a skill drain on the field. So I think, yeah, now that I'm starting to like put together the roadmap in my mind, I do think that I really like the skill drain being held and the Dogwood being used at a very specific time to make sure that he gets ahead. Then you can flip skill drain and then play the long battle.
But you can't just keep skill drain up, like, face down forever. You need to actually stop your opponent from doing things.
Why though? Not what does he do that actually interacts with him?
I mean, surely at some point he's going to threaten to pop the skill drain.
Okay, well, when we get there, we flip skill drain.
Yeah, but then you haven't dropped the door. I know, this seems a little suspicious to me, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
The Runick Stud Master, Tio himself, will try and give us a seminar on this through this duel here. There's an SP Little Knight. Yeah, that one definitely has to be used now. forcing it out early. Do really like this play from Christos, actually, not going through a Fiendsmith line, not trying to, you know, play it trying to play it in like a super spicy way. Just deal with what is most likely a very good continuous trap card, especially if your opponent just sets one and passes and nothing else. You know what's really funny here? He's immediately checking to see if Turbulence starts a chain. That was a good catch there, yeah. So Turbulence to summon is going to start a chain, and this is a huge moment because the life points have just increased by 2,000 for Tio.
Do you think this is a little early? I mean, you're gonna have to play this duel for a long time, and like Tio's not gonna win this in a turn or two if he wins it. So
maybe
like,
too early, honestly, especially because like he really needs something out of his deck, and the Pot of Duality, another one. Oh my.
So I think the only downside here is that was a very quick tip.
I like that. He picked up the tip before he'd even seen the third card. He was like, give me this.
Yeah, so I see what you're saying, but in the end, I think that there's a lot more variables that can go wrong potentially if you wait. I think Turbulence is just like the perfect target for it because 3,000 life points, I mean, is absolutely huge. But yeah, you're right. He does need to like make sure we don't take any more battle damage. And it doesn't look like we've drawn into something like Synchro Zone just yet, which is going to be the most important thing that allows us to keep our life points in check here. But we could see a draw 3 coming out this turn.
So Christos has got that one set. If I was going to guess, I mean, it might not be Cosmic Cyclone. I'm just wondering if you'd Cosmic the Skill Drain or you'd just hold it. I mean, there'd be no point playing. Yeah, there would be a point playing Cosmic Cyclone on the Skill Drain, because then you could resolve the Turbulence. So maybe it's not a Cosmic Cyclone. I don't know what else it is face down.
Not too sure what it was, but we've got an emergency, it looks like here. Okay.
So this is a nice little trick. Taylor's Order's time against Skill Drain. It only negates monster effects if they resolve while they're on the field, which is quite unlike other types of effect negation. So if you can use a card like Emergency to tribute your monster as Chainlink 2, then it will resolve while it's in the graveyard.
Stardust Skill Drain, one of the oldest locks that existed. Might see that occurring at a Time Wizard public event near you. All right, yeah, so we do get to resolve it off the field here because the Skill Drain only applies onto the field. And it looks like we're going to search for Headquarters, which is a really good way to make sure that we're at least healthy on our deck count.
Yeah, it's almost trying to play the Runick deck at its own game, isn't it? Which doesn't sound like that great, but anything really that does something when Skill Drain's in play is something. So
what you're trying to say is Rescue Ace HQ is actually better than Fountain?
I'm not trying to say that at all.
Not making any bold statements like that?
Not making any bold statements.
Okay, all right, well, I'll hold you to that another time. There's HQ coming down here, and yeah, able to recycle in the Banishment and the Graveyard, so really powerful card for Rescue Ace. One of the sort of advantage of the deck is that it plays really well into the long game, because once you've used all of your 4 sets off the Turbulence, you can just get them all back again.
I'm wondering, Teo, like, he doesn't want a Destruction. He's got a Destruction in his hand. Do you think there's something more valuable that's going to hit later?
Well, it might be his only Runick, right? So maybe he wants to like summon Jerry perhaps to protect his life points. Yeah, it is his only Runick, okay, so yeah, maybe he wants it to use as a summon.
Yeah, and just take the 2 draws. Or maybe don't want to risk one of those draws not being another Runick to protect your life points.
Clock is ticking. Remember, we started this game with 15 minutes left. We are halfway through. Currently, it is sitting at a 10,000 life points for Teo. Christos on 8. On the attack declaration of the Turbulence, we are going to use Smiting Storm. And is that Frecky?
Runick Wolf.
Yeah, that is indeed Frecky, which will return one from the grave, I believe, right? Destroy a battle card for target of Runick quick play in your graveyard. Adding Tip to the hand here, that's really, really important.
Is he willing to go below on life points?
No, absolutely not. You can see here that Destruction's about to come down now. Destruction for something like Jerry here to protect the life points would be super, super relevant. Plus, of course, in the end phase, we can eventually use that Tip to try and get some draws here. Okay, looks like we're actually going to go for it early. First of all, on attack declaration, we're going to go Tip for Slumber, I think that is.
Yeah, it's nice. You probably want to resolve the Fountain at a point where you're not vulnerable to Ogre. Oh, this is even nicer, yeah, because this way you never actually have to put something in the monster card zone. Because you don't ever want to put something in your extra monster card zone and then try and resolve the fountain and potentially have it hit by Ogre, so you'd rather have it available to place a Hugin in when you're trying to resolve that all-important draw 3 effect.
Yeah, Hugin is like a key part of this matchup, making sure that you're always able to chain a Runick to protect on your resolution of fountain. Super, super important to make sure you can keep the all-important win condition of that draw every single turn. All right, looks like we're summoning the 2000 defense Munin here.
What just happened? Like,
yeah, it looked like the Runick Fountain did actually get taken out.
why wasn't that a Hugin?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm so confused. Like, is he out of Hugins? Did he side it out?
Well, I mean, I think the Hugin does work on the skill drain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it banishes itself for cost.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Does it not?
Oh, it's not a cost, is it?
Well,
Oh, it says you can banish this instead, so no, I'm being silly. I'm being silly.
okay, yeah. So I actually thought for a second it did work on the skill drain, but no. So yeah. Curious why it wasn't a Jerry though, instead of Munin.
How big is Munin?
2000 defense.
Does it do anything when it? Like,
Well,
destroy
when Jerry's destroyed, it lets you pop a card on the field.
it does indeed.
Oh, this is actually really good for Christos because now we have a cash dealer on the field with Birth. So while our monsters are, again, kind of free to attack soon, unless we've exactly drawn Synchro Zone right now, anytime we do try and resolve a future fountain, we are able to banish those Runicks from the graveyard with the Birth.
Look at this, honestly. Now Christos entering into the battle phase, and let's see here.
This looks really bad here for Tio as we lose our Munin. Turbulence attacks directly. Anything to stop this? 4 minutes left on the clock here. It might not be enough to end the game. All right, looks like we're going to flip up I believe that's that Golden Droplet.
That is Golden Droplet, but if
Yeah.
you're just using runic spells like this to like throw defensively, and how are you ever going to get back into the game? I mean, not that he can do anything else, right? He's just run out of life points.
Birth resolves here, banishing 3 Runicks face down, attacking over Jerry. Jerry gets to destroy something on the field here. I mean, caught between a rock and a hard place because the Birth is going to be such an important card in the long game, but also all of these Rescue Ace monsters and Cash are just absolutely massive. You're going to maybe not lose the game on this turn, but you're going to fall below your opponent's life points. And another declaration of attack here, a second copy of Jerry. I assume Jerry's Grave Effect isn't once per turn.
Let me quickly check.
They're just doing everything he can
No,
to
it's not
stay
once,
ahead
it's not.
on life points. But is it enough to stay ahead on life points?
No, it's not. I think we've got one more Rescue Ace attack and the SP Little Knight connecting for 16.
Has the fire attacker attacked already?
What did he draw? I think
It's got to be exactly Card of Demise. Or Synchro
Synchro Zone would be really,
completely
really
turn this
perfect
game on
here.
its head, couldn't it?
Yeah. Battle phase start step, Synchro Zone? No,
Synchro
okay, looks
summon?
like we're Link summoning. Access code talker.
Apo.
Okay. So you can
Oh, there it is.
you can activate access code talker to destroy skill drain by banishing itself for cost. Oh, and that's a scoop right there. Teo losing out on this one. Christos taking this game down, and despite